record on this computer. There we go. All right. So welcome, Dental Sleep Profits. I have Tiffany here with us from Better Sleep Inc. And very excited to have her on the call. She has an extensive background in business building and working with Dr. Alina Lyons currently. And I'm very excited for her to share some pillars on building and scaling a sleep practice from her experience. So Tiffany, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, it's so easy. Pillars, right? I mean, it's so easy.
All
So
right.
getting into it. First, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just
Okay,
fine.
perfect. So first and foremost, I would say that I am an educator. And when you are in any kind of business, it doesn't matter what field you are in. With dental sleep medicine specifically, you want to be an educator. You want to lead with education, whether you're educating on obstructive sleep apnea or other sleep conditions, or you're educating on testing and treatment options. You want to lead with education. It is paramount for the success of your business. And separately of that, it's a great supplemental tool to marketing and social engagement, which we understand is a huge part of any business today. Dental sleep medicine not being an exception of that at all.
Yeah.
So the two kind of work hand in hand. When you lead with education, regardless of what business you're in, dental sleep medicine, it is huge in because it is healthcare focused. It is a medical necessity when you were treating with an oral appliance. You want to lead with education.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And for a sleep dentist, so kind of pillar number one, just getting right into it. Pillar number one is education. So for the sleep dentist who's just starting out, you had mentioned that education is a great tool in marketing. Obviously, that's a great way to reach the masses with education. But let's say someone's just trying to build through their existing patient base. A lot of times, it can be really awkward for patients when their dentist or the hygienist says, hey, you have a scalloped tongue, or I notice
Weird,
you
right?
grind your teeth.
Yeah, it's a very it's not an organic conversation to have chairside between
Yeah.
your dental practitioner and you as a patient. It is new information. And that's why I say lead with education, especially in dental sleep medicine, because this industry it's young, it's still up and coming. It's still, there are a lot of misconceptions, a lot of things to really fully understand, whether you're a business owner or you're a partner in a dental sleep medicine group. It's imperative that you understand what it is that you're doing, because when you take on the task of treating in oral appliance therapy, or you're tracking CPAP patients through their trajectory with treatment, you serve as a resource. You're the expert in your field, and you have to know it inside and out to be able to communicate it, to make that conversation that you just mentioned, which is inherently awkward, and make it more accessible to the patient. Understand that the dentist is delivering this information because they're in the oral cavity all day and they've been trained. They specialize in this. Sure, they offer general dentistry services, but they specialize in oral appliance therapy. They know a thing or two about clinical characteristics. That's a nice phrase to incorporate chairside. Clinical characteristics are something that you can deliver that are tangible. We also utilize and leverage photo evidence. A lot of people don't know what Mallampati is. When we see the clinical characteristics, we're talking about scalp tongue, we're talking about teeth grinding. Mallampati has a whole scale. It's when your tongue sinks into your airway. That's accessible information for patients. So it's finding out how to deliver the information, and then not dumbing it down, but making it more accessible, more tangible, showing
Dumbing
that.
it down's okay.
I get some pretty smart patients who have really difficult questions, and that's another reason why education is so important. And when you lead with education in this business, it speaks volumes about how much you know and why you do what you do. It comes across stronger. It
Yeah.
makes it more palatable for everyone that you talk to, whether it's a patient or a doctor or someone that you're partnering with in marketing. It doesn't matter. It makes it more palatable, and it makes you come across like you know a thing or two about what you're talking about. And that's, you need to be able to answer the tough questions, because there are tough questions in
Yeah.
dental sleep medicine. There are tough questions. You have to be able to field them with confidence. And so leading with education, I would say, is, you have to. You
Yeah.
absolutely.
So when the patient looks at you, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this at Dr. Lyon's office, when the patient looks at you like a deer in the headlights, when you start talking to them about obstructive sleep apnea at their prophy cleaning, you know, how do you guys transition that conversation from, well, I know we're a dentist office, but here's why we're talking about sleep apnea from a 5,000-foot view. What is the easiest way to transition and help the patient and educate them on why you, a dentist, are talking, or a hygienist, or maybe it's an assistant? Your whole staff should be trained on obstructive sleep apnea. How do you transition that conversation?
Every time there is a deer in a headlights moment, I want to give you a concrete answer. I want to say, by the book, every time someone responds like a blank canvas and you can't tell what direction they're going, or even if they're interested in learning more, you have to first consider your audience. You have to assume and treat every conversation like they know nothing at all. You might get the outliers who understand a little bit more and have the tough questions. And then the deer in the headlights is a totally different correspondence. So you have to be able to level set the expectation that they might not be ready to hear the information. They might not be previously exposed to the information. They may not be even willing to listen, and they might think it's creepy. So, just to talk about OSA in the dental chair is a hurdle you have to get through. So what I would say, and what we employ, is, you hit the nail on the head. Every single person is trained. By the time they get to the dentist, they've heard it. They've heard it from their hygienist. They've said, the hygienist will do a soft open. That's what I call it, a soft open. The hygienist or assistant will say, oh, hey, it looks like, as I'm cleaning, I'm noticing you have a scalloped tongue. Let the patient engage with the statements. Well, what does that mean? Well, it could potentially mean X, Y, and Z about sleep apnea. It could be a clinical characteristic. It could tell us that something else is going on, but I'll give the information to the doc, and we'll talk about whether or not that makes sense.
Yeah.
And when the doctor comes in and she's able to deliver that information with a little bit more insight, okay, the hygienist was kind enough to let me know that you had a scalloped tongue and she had noticed that. So go ahead and pop your mouth open. Let me take a look. Okay. I also noticed that you have this thing called Mallampati 4. You're on this scale, and then that's where you use your visuals to make it more accessible to the person in the chair. Deer in headlights, you want to mitigate it before they become the deer in the headlights. You want to deliver the information with a soft open, and then you want to close a little bit stronger, but still not all the way. If they seem receptive, that's a word we use quite frequently in our practice, is if the patient seems receptive, then they land across from me and then I reinforce the information. So it looks like Dr. Lyons found clinical characteristics that may be associated with sleep apnea. Let's talk a little bit about why she's exposing you to this information and why she might have some concerns. I'm here as an educator, a resource for you to equip you with the information so that you're not leaving this office undiagnosed or untreated for something that we could have gotten ahead of.
Yeah.
And then visual is very important. I have a poster that sits behind me. I think you've seen it, actually.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a poster that sits behind me, and it very clearly outlines all of the risks. I don't need to pinpoint. The font is large enough that the patient sitting across from me, as I'm speaking and half retaining what I'm saying, can pinpoint things.
I have that one.
Or we see it a lot where they end up in our chair because of clinical characteristics, and it actually shifts to, this entire poster is about my husband.
Yeah.
So visuals and progression in conversation. You don't lead with all of the information. It's too much. jarring.
I think you just made a really good point about visuals. A lot of times, if those visuals are strategically placed throughout the office, they
Yeah.
can create those conversations with staff or with the dentist or whoever, with the receptionist. I don't know strategically where those visuals are in the office. That's something that each staff would need to determine based on the layout of the office.
Yeah.
So,
I
but I think that's a really, really great tool to create those conversations, and maybe the patient pursues the conversation rather than you bringing it up.
absolutely. And I agree with you. That same poster that's in my office is also in our waiting room, and where they may have not really noticed it, cognitively grabbed onto it in the waiting room, they then have seen it more than once by the time they're sitting across from me in my office. And
Yeah.
as you know, this is where marketing and advertising comes in, because by the time they're seeing it, they should have seen it without realizing it 2 or 3 times prior, or at least heard it or made some sort of connection. And that's where marketing comes in, because it just kind of reinforces all of the education that we're putting out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, so aside from education, kind of the heart of this conversation is treating your business like a business. One of the biggest things I've come across is dentists have a difficult time making that transition. And it doesn't matter if they've pulled out of dentistry completely and they're only operating sleep, which we do see, or they are kind of doing both still with the hope of moving away from dentistry and focusing solely on sleep. It doesn't really matter where you fall. There are struggles with both transition periods, but treating it like a business across the board is important. You have to treat your business like a business so that others can. And it's okay. I think there's hesitation because there's a sales component, there's a treatment component, there's managing partnerships component. There's a lot of moving parts to a dental sleep medicine practice. So it feels a little bit weird to say that it's a business, but it's okay to be in a business of helping people. That's what you're doing. You're an expert and you're specializing in a treatment, but you have a business, and that's okay too to admit. I mean, even if you work through to insurances or not, it doesn't quite matter. And then within that, I feel like there's good business and bad business. So that's where scaling your business comes in. But
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely
That's
treating it like a business is important.
that's pillar number 4. We'll get to scaling.
I get excited.
I
That's
know.
my
I
that's the
know.
bread and butter.
So when it comes to treating a sleep business like a business, um, I'm sure lots of members of Dental Sleep Profits have had some sort of interaction with dental consultants where they come into your
Yep.
practice, they look at your books or they look at your schedule,
Mhm.
they're looking at all of these components. What are the components of a sleep business that set you up for success and you're to where you're actually treating your sleep business as a business and not just as another adjunct service that your office provides? Because I've had so many conversations with dentists where I ask the question, why do you want to integrate sleep into the practice? And like, and
I was
they
gonna
literally say,
say
I want to be able to offer everything to my patients. It's
why.
like,
Okay.
okay, that's great. A lot more of the people who come into Dental Sleep Profits are wanting to, I'm not going to say distance themselves from general practice, but they want to do more sleep because of, obviously there's the minimal overhead. That's really great for business.
Super attractive.
And yeah, and they want to focus on that more. Or there's the physical limitations or the physical toll that general practice has taken on their body, and they
Right.
want to pull back from that. Lots of different reasons. So how do you treat your business like a business? The sleep aspect.
So I think a big part of it is segregating it not only in here, but on paper. I think definitively it's kind of like when you start any business, you want segregation. You don't want to commingle your funds. You don't want to commingle um, anything else that is personal or other business and related to a new business. You want to segregate the two. You want to completely separate it out, whether that is physically, which I don't recommend doing right off the bat unless if you have,
Like a new LLC or something like that.
yeah, definitely breaking it out and definitively saying we're going to focus on sleep. If that's what you want, if you only want to offer oral appliance therapy and you want to run off of referrals alone, then that's a different type of business. But it's still a business, so you have to be able to segregate it out and say, this is a different animal from dentistry because of X, Y, and Z, because we have all of these different moving parts that interact a little bit different. I mean, right off the bat, we work with medical insurances. That's a whole different ball game from dental. So so the two worlds are already just on paper. If you look at them side by side, they're totally different animals. So pulling it out and reminding yourself of this often is incredibly important, because if you don't do that, no one else will do that. You have to imagine that you're a business in sleep is totally different than your business in dentistry. You have a dental practice, and sleep can be a business within that, or it can, but you have to separate it out. Segregation is incredibly important, and just making sure that you're conducting your books properly. That's what I mean by business, treating it like a business. Make sure that you are marketing the right way, make sure you're engaging with the right audience, because the audience for sleep is actually quite different than the audience for dental. We convert dental patients to sleep if we see those clinical characteristics, but generally speaking, we offer a CPAP alternative. That's a totally different market. So if you have a sleep business and you're treating it like a business, you know that about your audience, and you're focused and committed to grabbing a hold of that audience and pulling them in. That's what I mean by treating it like a business. If you don't, then you're not doing those things. Then you're not pulling in your audience. You don't really care about your audience. You don't care about who you're treating. You have to focus and you have to segregate the two and just be able to compartmentalize them that way.
Yeah. And one of the things I know when I started my business, obviously, you hear these things about vision boards, all these kind of, and there's goal setting, mile markers, all of this stuff in business. Is that something you recommend doing for a sleep business? Creating goals, like where do I want to be 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? What's the end goal? How do I now, based on those goals, how do I manage my staff to meet these goals? How do I help get them bought into this vision? Is all that included in treating your business like a business, or is that?
So it depends. I'm
beyond?
also an executive coach. So with my coach hat on, I say, yeah, absolutely. Visions are very helpful, but I think in business, they should reflect the evolution. So I recommend doing that. I don't recommend doing it just once. I recommend doing it with enough time so that you can see, okay, we started here and then we're doing it again, and then be able to look at the comparison. I recommend doing it often because your business and you are always evolving. I think take COVID, for example, how many businesses sank, how many swam, how many were prepared for any kind of adversity to be thrown, whether it was COVID or something else. Were they prepared? And was that part of the goal to be prepared? Goals can be anything, and they're ever changing, especially in business. It will never be, I should say the goal doesn't have to change so much as the path getting there. So when you do visions and you do outlines and you do what's called the magic wand exercise, where you go, poof, there's what I want. There's where I want to be in a year. There's where I want to be in 3 years or 5 years. When you do the magic wand exercise and you're visualizing all of the different components about your business and outlining those goals, it can change, and it's okay to do it frequently. I think people think, okay, well, I'll outline my business now, and then they never revisit it. And that's a huge mistake, because we're always changing. Yeah. So yeah, I do recommend it, but I recommend doing it frequently.
Okay. Kind of going along the same lines about treating your business like a business. And this is an example I hear a lot when people come into Dental Sleep Profits. They're like, in the next 5 to 6 months, I want to be doing 6 to 10 appliances per month consistently. Yeah. What for treating your business with that in mind, treating your business like a business, let's say as an executive coach, what would you tell that dentist here's what you're going to need to focus on?
So I try not to tell anybody what to focus on, because one of the biggest parts, I think this is what you're getting at, is level setting expectation. Okay. You have to set up realistic expectations. And then you have to, as a business owner, if you're treating it like a business, you have to be able to manage the expectation of the industry, the expectation of your patients, and the expectation of your business, you. How are you going to get from point A to point B, and is it realistic in the time frame that you've outlined? It kind of goes along with scaling your business, and we'll dive into that a little bit later, but carving out time is a huge way to treat your business like a business, especially if you have a dental practice. Set aside one day a week that is just sleep. We focus on Thursdays. I book outside of that to accommodate patients, but never in the chair. It's always administrative appointments that are outside of our sleep day. Our sleep day, everybody in our office knows sleep day is Thursday, and the whole office has a different vibe on those days because we treat sleep like a business. So you have to be able to carve out time, and you have to be able to level set expectations.
Okay. I think that's really great advice, kind of understanding, okay, let's say if I want to get to 6 to 10 appliances a month in the next 5 to 6 months, how am I going to do that? Actually writing out that plan. What's it going to take? If I have 60 to 100 people reaching out to me a month through Dental Sleep Profits and their system, how am I going to leverage that? What do I need from that? How do I leverage that with relationships with physicians in the community? How can I leverage that? And what can I expect from them as a referral source once I've leveraged Dental Sleep Profits to get in the door with them? Start talking about, how do I convert? How am I going to track what I'm doing so that I know? Yeah. And I think you really appreciated our lead management dashboard, because it gives you an instant snapshot, not only of where everybody is at in the follow-up and follow-through process, which is our pillar number 3 we're going to talk about, but it gives you a snapshot of the bit of your sleep business. You can look at it and say, I'm only converting 10% of people into treatment. Why? Right.
No, and that information is invaluable when you are treating your business like a business, because it helps you outline your goals. It helps you scale. It helps you determine how to pivot, how to change, how to shift and make it work, or how to grow. So I would go as far to say is that the leaderboard dashboard, I call it a dashboard.
The dashboard. Yeah.
Okay.
The dental sleep dashboard. There you go.
The dashboard is actually, for someone that's just starting out and doesn't know quite how to treat their business like a business. They've been doing dentistry for a long time and they just started integrating it in. I would say segregate it out and rely on things at your fingertips like the dashboard to help give your business more of a business structure. The dashboard actually provides more than a snapshot. It provides the opportunity to engage with the lead and to maintain your own record of it. So the reporting that you get alone from that should be enough to tell you where you are and where you're headed, what kind of trends you can identify, and how to manage them, and whether or not you have the bandwidth to do that. Part of leading with education means that the next part, once everybody catches wind of everything, is that there's an influx. So you have to be able to handle that. And when you're marketing, it goes one step further. So that's why you have to treat it like a business, and you have to rely on tools like the dashboard to keep momentum. I mean, it's simple.
Yeah. I'm a very big proponent of dashboard being very active in our lead management dashboard, because it gives us the tools we need as a service provider to the members of Dental Sleep Profits. It gives us the tools to say, hey, you said your goal was this. We want to do everything we can to help you meet that goal, but we're noticing that let's say you're scheduling 50% of your leads into consultations, but we're only getting a 20% show rate. Let's talk about what hurdles you guys are coming up against. Are these people just hard to get a hold of? Let's figure out together how to get that above 20%. Yeah. Do we need to do more filtering on the front end? to qualify people, what needs to happen,
Right. I
but
think
if
to
we
be
didn't have that data, we'd just be lost as to what kind of actions to take within the business.
But you said something really, really interesting is being engaged, being active in your own dashboard. Listen, from a business perspective, if you are treating it like a business and you are paying for a service that is going to help you in the growth that you've identified and something that you've identified as something that you want for your business, then you have to be an active participant. You cannot allow a dashboard or any sort of tool that you are paying for or not paying for, but just sort of exists in your world of business. You cannot let it get stagnant, because the minute you are hands off, it is no longer your business. It is, those patients belong to no one. You have to be engaged, and you have to be able to answer the tough questions. Why do we have such a low conversion? Is it this? Is it that? You need to be able to identify what areas you guys or the practice can improve on. Those are, that's the difference between good business and bad business. So
yeah. And when we send out our, welcome to Dental Sleep Profits Getting Started email, one of the things that we say on purpose in that email is that we are very excited to become a part of your team.
that's
And,
what it should be.
and as a business owner, when I pay for, I've paid, $27,000. I've paid 27 grand for coaching before, and I want my money's worth.
Yeah.
So I take advantage of every tool that's provided to me in that coaching to grow my business. It's the same thing with the dashboard. It's like, you've invested in Dental Sleep Profits. Why would you not take advantage of these tools that can help move your business forward? We have people who have never logged into the dashboard.
That's like insanity to me, because one of the things that I frequent, one of the concepts I frequent is, in business, nothing should be treated like a gym membership. There are no gym memberships in business. There just aren't. If you're paying for it and you're not using it, then you shouldn't have it. Because it's not giving you all of what you signed up for. It's not taking you to the optimal space that you originally had planned on. Or if you had nothing to do with it, then we're back to bad business. So there are no gym memberships in business. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, cool. Let's move to our third pillar, which is follow up and follow through.
This is the best.
Is this one your favorite?
It's up there with scaling, but
okay.
I think I was actually just talking about this morning, because there are not many people who follow through and follow up in this business quite like I do. And there's a reason for that. You have to follow up and you have to follow through. And I don't mean just with patients. We want to track our patients. You should be following up from the minute that they walk in the door to the minute that they leave and their OSA is manageable. You want to follow up the entire time. And I don't mean just inside of, hi, I'm calling to confirm your appointment. I send text messages, emails, I call them depending on, what their preference is. I meet them more than halfway and I say, how are you? Because what we're doing in oral appliance therapy is just a spoke on the wheel, okay, of wellness. It is not a one size fits all. It typically works in conjunction with a lot of other initiatives in wellness. So we're talking about repairing and regenerating after surgery. We're talking about nutritional goals and getting a handle on things like diabetes or other chronic conditions like back pain because they're slightly overweight, or, we're addressing so many other things while we're addressing obstructive sleep apnea that the, hey, how are you, goes a long way. So follow up with patients is key. But it's no different with doctors either. You have to follow up with the physicians that you're working with. And I don't mean just the ones that you're trying to get referrals from. I mean the ones that sent the referrals. Send them a thank you. Let them know where their patient is. Give them the opportunity to update their records. That follow through, you might not see a pat on the back or a high five or a fax that says we love you right away, but 5-10 patients later, 2 years down the road, they're going to know exactly who you are. They're going to know exactly how you treat their patients, and they're going to work with other physicians to refer to you as well, because you take care of business. You take care of business. You treat their patients like your own. And that's
Yeah.
how,
Yeah.
so.
And not to mention, follow up on the end of following up and following through with physicians that you're referring to or receiving referrals from, you stand out. You make yourself stand out. If you can do something, and I used to do this with a lot of clients, is I would actually send them a 5-ounce bar of pure silver as like, hey,
Quirky.
yeah, but they're like, who the heck sends like a 5-ounce bar of silver to
Yeah,
start off a
what
business
about
relationship?
silver?
I get it from APMEX, American Precious Metals Exchange. You can
Oh,
but what I did is I would personalize it. That bar of silver would have their state on it, like, oh, Columbus, Ohio,
oh, you're
something
above
like
and
that.
beyond.
So yeah, you send them a five
But
ounce
it
bar of
sets you
silver.
apart.
Yeah, it's what, 120 bucks or something like that. But you send it with a handwritten note of, we're very excited to become a part of your team, and we're very much looking forward to helping you grow your dental practice, your sleep practice, whatever you want to grow. But you stand out. You're like, oh my gosh, this person just gave me a 5-ounce bar of silver. That's weird. But
And
I remember, they're never going to forget it. Same with doctors.
they do not forget it. And I will say that, some of the toughest doctors we do signature macaroons, okay, which
They're delicious.
but we have sleeves on the boxes when we take them into the field, or we send them locally to any physicians that we've either seen a patient from or ones that we'd like to know and that we would like to work with. They might receive macaroons from us 2-3 times before they allow us in the door. And part of the psychology behind that is we're not salespeople. We're your neighbor and we brought cookies. We are not, the follow up and the follow through doesn't have to happen after you've started treating a patient. It can happen before. It can happen. You can lay the groundwork for that well before you even start working with a patient. So it really is something to incorporate into your business, whatever your signature move is, whether it's silver, whether it's cookies, whatever it is. Handwritten notes are incredibly helpful. They assign a little bit more of like a humanity to it, so it makes you more reachable. It makes you more normal. It makes it less scary, less clinical. That's definitely helpful. But follow through with the partners that you work with. For example, you guys follow through with the services, with the people that you are partnering with. When you and I had met, I said we work with a really small group of people. We like to partner with the right people, and we take those partnerships really seriously. I think I had requested a Zoom meeting with you 5 minutes later, and because you have to be able to work with them and follow through with them, or you're never going to get the benefit that you need from the services that you're paying for. So follow through across the board is like, I cannot preach it enough. More is better. It just is. So.
Yeah. All right. So now your favorite.
My favorite, how
Scaling.
do you scale your business? Most dentists have their practice. It's high overhead. It's taken a long time, 30 plus years to build. It's well-oiled machine. They don't work with medical insurance. It's just dental, maybe, or they're cash. So they've got it made. They know exactly what they're doing. They worked through, years of figuring it out. And then there's dental sleep medicine, which is a whole different ball game. You're working with medical insurance. You're working with totally different patients from different patient bases, from different physicians, all walks of life, all financial, economic circumstances. So how do you take all of that information and figure out what you're doing and where you're going? You have to. That's where you start. If you are 3 years in and you haven't done that, stop what you're doing immediately. Put the oral appliances down, put your scanners down, stop taking patients. Take a week. It doesn't happen overnight. Take a week, get a whiteboard like you have back there, get a whiteboard and start to scale your business. It could be a month out. It could be 3 months out. It could be 6 months. It could be a year. I like to start with 1, 3, and 5, and then You scale it back even further until you feel like you've landed somewhere where you know everything about your business, how it works. You have to do a really hard look at how your business functions. How do we get from point A to point B, and what's happening in between? What does the team look like? Who's doing what? Are we contributing where we need to grow at that 1 year mark, to reach the goals for that 3 year mark, to expand in 5 years? You have to start somewhere, and you have to take a deep look at what your business is, why you're doing it, and where you want to go.
Yeah. I actually had a really good friend locally here. He's a life coach for a tech company that's based here in Eugene,
That's like
Oregon.
a dream job. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
He was actually a software developer, and he goes, "Hey, I got a passion for life coaching. Can that be my job?" And they're like, "Yeah." And it made their 122 person staff super productive. But
It
um,
does.
he walked me through an exercise one time because he was super interested in my business when I got started. He's like, "Todd, 5 years from now, where do you want to be?" I was like,
That's
"What?"
a magic wand
Yeah,
exercise.
the magic wand exercise. And he goes, "Okay, if you want to get to that in 5 years, what does your business look like at year 4? What does it look like at year 3? What does it
Mhm.
look like at year 2? Or what have you accomplished by year 1 on your way to your year 5 goal? Now, what do you need to do in the next 9 months to make your year 1 goal happen? What do you need to do in the next 6 months to make your 9 month goal happen?" And he walked it all the way back to, what do you need to do today to get to your 1 month goal?
You need to take
What
a
does
leap.
your yeah, what does your daily schedule look like to reach your goal this week? So that
So
was that was super eye-opening.
I do a similar exercise that actually doesn't, it's a little, it's parts of that, but it's a visualization where you take a calendar, and I do this with, it kind of doesn't depend if it's business focused or just life focused. A lot of the time humans get stuck in this day to day, but they're constantly chasing these bigger dreams with no real hope of them ever accomplishing them, because they haven't identified what actually needs to be put into motion for them to happen. So they're just, we know them as pipe dreams, but really they could be attainable. We just haven't done the work yet. So what I do is I print out a calendar year, all of like the little boxes with the calendar, all of the months, and I put it in front of them and I say, this is where we are, and it has to be the current year. And you X out all the months that have gone by so far.
Mm,
And you take a look at the calendar and you go, okay, so looks like we only have about 6 months left of 21. Not a lot of time. What are we hoping to do in that amount of time? Like, what is the actual goal for the end of the year? And it's different than a New Year's resolution, because you look at it in terms of time, and it becomes so tangible, because you're like, oh my God, I wasted all that time just like thinking about my goals. I didn't even realize half the year went by.
yeah.
So just looking at a calendar for the year, and then you can scale it back even further and start to look at your weeks, where you identify where you can carve out time, how you can set up a sleep day. All of those things come into play when you take a look at the calendar. So that exercise that your friend did with you was probably really helpful.
Yeah, it was. And to this day, I still plan out my day in 30-minute increments to make sure that I am the most productive that I can possibly be.
And
So
it's different for everyone.
right, a lot of people don't like. I'm a checkbox guy. I literally have, what am I at now? 7 check boxes that I have to check off every single day. It's a combination of personal and business,
Right.
spiritual, family, business, and I don't know what else, but there's 7 of them. And I love check boxes. It makes it feel like I've accomplished something. I like to keep track of that. And based on my goals for scaling dental sleep profits and making this the most successful group of sleep dentists in the entire United States, I have to be focused. I
You have
absolutely
to.
have to be focused. But what's really great about these check boxes and keeping track, and I think that's one of the, and maybe you'll agree, maybe not, you can give me some coaching, but having the data to go back and say, gosh, I didn't hit my 30-day goal. I wonder why that is. Well, with my system and tracking everything I do on a daily basis, I can go back and I can look and say, oh my gosh, like I only connected with 15 sleep dentists this month on the phone. Like
Mhm.
that's not going to get me to where I want
That's
our
not good.
organization to be. I need to connect with more doctors. How am I going
And
to do that? Is that
and that's exactly why,
LinkedIn, YouTube? I
yeah,
don't know.
that's why I always preach starting with evaluation. I cannot tell you enough how many small businesses I interact with that have no business plan. And I
Yeah.
don't mean not like that, like no business plan. Okay. Like they had a dream. It's fantastic. They're accomplishing their dream. But if you don't have a business plan in place where you've already scaled your preliminarily scaled, it'll change, but scaled your business 1, 3, 5 years out, how do you know you're going to make it? You have to have goals outlined, those check boxes that you were talking about. You have to have some version of them working constantly, always updating so that you have benchmarks to reach, that you have places to go so that you can get to 1, 3, 5 years out and
Yeah.
actually meet those expectations. But evaluation is huge. Sitting down, that's why I say it takes a week, because it's a deep dive. It is a hard look at how your business operates. And then when you compare it to what you think your goals are for 1, 3, and 5 years, you quickly realize I might not have the technology and systems in place to handle where I think I want to be. I don't, so I got to start thinking about what software I want to use to house all of these things. If I want to do 10, 20 appliances a month, well, what does that look like for staffing? Do I have the
Mhm.
bandwidth to handle that? Do I have the right team? If not, that's going to take time to nail. I'm going to have to set aside time and really get the team down. If you don't have the capital, let's say it takes funding. Sometimes you need another scanner and the scanner is $125,000. Okay, well, that's a that's a conversation when you're looking at
That's
your
a
goal.
conversation.
If you want to open up a second location by year one, more power to you. But what is it going to take to get there? That's where scaling your business comes in. That's why I say it takes a week, because you have to sit down, you have to evaluate where you are, you have to know your business inside and out. All small business owners should know how much their operating budget is, what their expenses are, their revenue looks like, and
Yeah.
how much of the total budget consists of variable costs, and where can we make those adjustments to make year one happen, or year three, or year five.
Yeah.
So it takes time, but the legwork pays off. I
Yeah.
mean, the dental sleep community is so small. It's still growing. It's still small. If you are an active dentist practicing sleep, the bottom line is we're either going to see you or we're not, because you're either going to take the time to evaluate your business, scale your business, treat it like a business, and educate the population, connect with businesses like yours, partner with businesses like yours to get the word out, to better equip the masses with the information that we're working with. You're either going to do that legwork, or you're not. And then it will be no surprise if you can't convert the leads, or you can't reach 10 appliances a month. Of course, it
Yeah.
will, elbow grease and legwork. That's what
One of
it
the
is.
one of the biggest reality checks for my business planning, and I think this would apply to a sleep business owner or a sleep practice owner as well, is that you should be able to provide a business plan with a level of detail that you could take it to a bank and they should want to invest in what you're presenting to them.
Wow.
That's
Not
the
only
level
really
that's
want
the
to
level of detail.
fund
Like,
you, they want to invest in you. Yeah.
yeah, and
Absolutely.
that's why when you mentioned this takes a week, it's like, yeah, you need to, if you truly do want to pull away from general dentistry and focus on sleep, let's say as a hobby 2 days a week, that's your ultimate goal. I just want to work 2 days a week I want to provide 10, 15 appliances, and that's good enough for me. That is the sweet life. You got to map that out financially, the time, the all of it, the whatever
Mhm.
relational sacrifices you're going to have to make. What does that look like for your family time? What does that look like for your time at your general practice in order to get to where you're only focused on sleep 2 days a week? You have to map it out, and it has to be detailed enough that someone could look at that and say, that's worth investing in. Yes, that's going to be profitable.
Yeah,
So
I think that's a hard thing, and it's also okay to admit that you don't want to do that. Like you don't like maybe you want to be right. I mean,
yeah,
when you're in business, if you might want to open up a cupcake shop, but maybe you don't want to run the business.
yeah,
Maybe you like oral appliances and you love treating, you want to offer all of the things, but the business stuff can hit the road. It's
yeah.
not for
I
you.
hate looking at finances, but I absolutely hate, because my mentality is, I have a vision, go. Like, let's do it. Like, I'm opening my second business right now. We've had multiple people offer, to invest tens of thousands of dollars into this business idea that we have, that we're going through some government red tape to get started. And that's what I love about business. When I start getting down into, well, how much is it going to cost for this stuff from this vendor in order for me to be profitable and serve these customers? Like, yeah, I don't like that stuff. I'm going to go build stuff.
Sourcing, you're talking about sourcing. I source all day long. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's marketing, whether it's it's kind of cut and dry with advertising. Like you can negotiate a little bit, but sourcing product is huge, especially if you have a second location and you need to worry about overhead. That's a little bit different than if it
Yeah.
were in dentistry. But we source everything from our oral appliances to the software we use to the medical billing company that we use.
Mhm.
We source every single component because, again, if you're doing a deep dive into your business structure, into the infrastructure of your business, and you really know how all the gears operate, then you can take a look at your operating budget and you can understand where it can exponentially grow by year 1 or 3 or 5 if you just do X, Y, and Z. If we slash this and we add that, what does that look like? And it's working through all of those different avenues and understanding that, one, things can change, but two, it's okay if you don't want to do that. Maybe it's part of your business plan. Maybe by year 1, you want a business manager that's willing to do it for you, that
Mhm.
treats your business like their business. That's what I do. And it's okay. You have to be able to admit that, but it starts with evaluation and understanding your business and what it's going to take. Sometimes it takes somebody else, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But that's one of the biggest decisions you can make in treating your business like a business, is admitting your strengths, your weaknesses, your likes, your dislikes. I mean, part of the freedom of owning your own business is calling the shots. So doing that right from the jump is huge.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're coming up on the hour, so
That was
I
fast.
know it was fast,
We
but
have time to talk about your new idea.
if people want to know about it, I'm worried people are going to steal it. We've already had people offer to franchise it.
Oh, we can't have that. We can't have
Yeah.
that.
I'll tell people off the call if they
Oh,
want.
offline, off record. Got
Yeah,
it.
yeah. But no, Tiffany, I really appreciate your time.
Thank
This
you.
has been a huge resource. If anybody has questions, if you're viewing this video in our Dental Sleep Profits private mastermind group, go ahead, just post your questions and tag Tiffany. Her name is Tiff in our Facebook mastermind group. So you can tag her if you have any questions for her. I'm sure you're more than willing to respond to those
Oh yeah,
questions.
and
Yeah.
I actually do all of my coaching is pro bono. I just sort of geek on being a resource for people. So I am here if there are any specific business questions. I can do a little bit of advising there. Whatever you guys need. So thank
Awesome. Awesome.
you so
Well,
much for having me.
yeah, thank you, Tiffany, again. And again, if you guys, I hope you guys really Well, this is the end of the video. So if you skipped to the end of the video, watch everything in the video. Don't just skip to the end to find, the highlights, the cliff notes. So thanks again, Tiffany.
Yes, thank you so much. Have a
All
good
right.
weekend.
You too. And hey, I'll tell you about the business idea. I'm going to stop recording.
Okay.